All right, so thank you everybody for being here. What we're going to show you is a little bit of, like you were saying, right? Machine learning. Almost every session mentions it. We want to try and demystify it a little bit with examples, so that Patrick with Visit Tampa Bay was very, very kind to let us do a case study on his brand, and that's what we're going to share today. So, where are we going to start?
Well, thank you. So I think. This on? Can you? There we go. So the challenge, I think, is we all get confused sometimes on what a brand is. So there's so much of it that we can control, but there's so much of it that we can't control. And that's what really freaks me out, right, as a CMO, is people always say to me, which bit of your business are you missing? Which bit you need to improve on? And the point is, I don't know what I don't know, right? So this is where something like this can come in and help us. It can identify issues, opportunities, but also at the same time, it can also reinforce the places that you're doing right. So I think this was a great way of looking back on what we've done. So really, it was a case of data and machine learning can just keep track of everything that makes a point, because we're not the brand. Everybody that comes to us and all of our locals, they are the brand. Mm-hmm. So I think that I'll just pass it over to you.
All right, so machine learning can take very many different shapes and do many very different things. I'm sorry, I'm standing in your way. I'm going to be moving. It's a little small. But this is the pipeline that we used for this specific case study. So what we're looking at is, as Patrick was saying, the brand is in the power of the people, right? And the people have many different ways to express themselves and share data. So we're going to be looking at Google review data. We heard it from TripAdvisor. People are very happy to give reviews, especially when they're traveling. So Google reviews, we're going to look at Facebook and Instagram. Those are not the only channels, of course, but those are the three that we chose for this example. Then we're going to use Google Cloud to capture the data, and we're going to use machine learning to do two things. We're going to do natural language processing, which means basically understanding what's in the words, what words are, how words are working together, what they can tell us, and then computer vision. And computer vision is basically the same, but for images. And that, from a marketing perspective, is really interesting because images for a long time have been kind of mysterious. We like some images, but it's difficult to say what image will work and will not.
So really, it comes down to it's a very simple game, right? Marketing, everybody thinks they can do it. We're really competing against everybody else, including our friends who are watching on TV, I'm sure, for a limited amount of clients. So to win, we have to be the most attractive and the most relevant brand. So of course, then there's two parts of the conversation. You have your internal and your external. Your internal, you can see there is one side, and that's something you can control, obviously, more than the others. And there we have the separated out. And this is the first one we're going to go to. So it's really talking about improving looking at reviews to improve the experience in the destination and all the things that make up what that destination is. And I just want to put a quick word before I pass this back over. This is what a brand is. Now, if you go back to that slide, this is what a brand is. It's not one thing. When people say to us, what's Tampa? And I can't just say it's a pirate or it's a plate of something. It's all these things.
Yeah, and I think this is really interesting because when you look at a destination, it's very different to other brands because, like you were saying, it's the combination of many different brands in one brand. So kind of a weird thing when you look at marketing overall. The thing is, all these different partners that you have here, hotels, restaurants, attractions, and all these, they all are separate brands that receive reviews themselves. And all those reviews are pretty much public, right? So here we're looking at Besito. Patrick tells me it's really good, and people tend to think the same way. They have 2,058 reviews on Google and a pretty good amount of reviews. And if we look at this video, let me see if it plays. No, I have to move over here. So what we're doing here is we're going into each of these locals, let's say, and we're going to get the review data from them, which again is public. So you can do that for one place, or you can do that for thousands or hundreds or whatever amount of places we want. But what's interesting is what we do with that data. And here's where natural language processing comes in. In this case, we're using something called an LDA model. You don't need to remember that. But what it does, it takes all those thousands of reviews and separates that in territories. So if we look at Visit Tampa Bay or Tampa as a brand, from review data, this is what it would look like. The biggest territory would be an amazing gastronomic experience. The second biggest would be a clean place to stay. So clean place to stay, that's like important. Third is love to visit this fun place. So fun becomes also very important. Original stores and nice shopping experiences. And then the fifth is related more to service. So again, you can do that for your destination, but you can also do it for every other destination that you compete against. And that's when you start getting a picture of how this compares. It is really interesting to turn that into something usable, tangible, right? So that's what we're looking at now. This is, again, a little small, but let me do just this. So what we're doing here is we're taking all the words that we got from the reviews, and we separate them by the categories, right? So restaurants, hotels and resorts, shopping, breweries, attractions, arts and culture, nightlife. And then you can go in there and see what words people are using to review these different types of businesses in your destination or in your competitors if you want to do it for them as well. In this case, what we saw here is that how they are reviewing restaurants with the word good is not, the word good has a relevance score here. So that means how relevant that word is in that category. If you compare that to the word tasty, tasty is not as used as good, but it's much more relevant. So what we could do is we could go to the partners and restaurants and say, hey guys, if you want to start trying to encourage the use of the word tasty, you're going to start having better engagement and ratings, because the rating score for tasty in this case is better than for good. So that's just an example, right? And you could look at the data and find different conclusions how you would use that.
I think every restaurant would rather be considered tasty than good, right? So, and I was very delighted with all those things that came up, because those are things that we focus on. You know, the cleanliness, the fun, the gastronomic side. So that's all good reinforcement for us and makes us feel good, but that's only half of the picture, right? The other half is therefore the external, because we don't exist in isolation. We've got a lot of competitors out there. You know, we have two different comp sets. We look at things as most Florida destinations do from a leisure perspective, but then also from a meetings perspective. So we have a different comp set for that entirely. So we have to stay more relevant to both of those, and everything is about being relevant.
And with this comp set, we focused on leisure in this case. What we did is, you guys know it, right? Tourism, images, that's like very, very important. So we looked at Instagram and all these Instagram accounts. And what we're doing here is we're using machine learning to take the images and identify what is in the image. So a human being can see, of course, a couple things, but the computer can see everything, right? So the color, the shapes, people, gender, sizes, well, it can see much more things than we can. The interesting thing is when you do that not for one image, but you do that for 1,000 images, and you don't only do it for yours, but also for your competitors' images. And then you end up having dashboards like this, where basically what you can do is, here at the top we see Tampa, and here at the bottom, in this case, we're seeing Fort Myers as one of the competitors. And what we see is, what are the top features on the image for this destination against this destination, which is partly interesting, but then it becomes much more interesting when you start seeing what features are driving the most engagement. So what are people really relating to from what you are doing and from what your competitors are doing? Of course, every destination is different, but there's a lot we can learn from this type of things. Sorry. So for example, here, what we're seeing is, what is the single one most engaging post that the destinations have? And if we look at Tampa, it's flamingo. And if we look at Fort Myers, it's flamingo as well. So that's the single most engaging feature. Now, the thing is, the volume is only one. So they have only done one post with the flamingo. This is Tampa, and then this is Fort Myers. So you can look at that from the dashboard. So it's very engaging, but strategically not very important. So we need to understand that maybe for a moment that's nice because you want to show a park or something, or a zoo. But if you want to go and look at what's strategically more important, you would filter up there for images, for features that are present in more than one post. So for example, 10 posts. And then everything changes because you start seeing fun becomes the one single most important for Tampa. And you can go and look at the images that show fun, because fun has, again, many different ways of showing, right? You saw a beverage here, people like celebrating. There's many different ways of showing fun. So this is for Tampa, but then if we look at Orlando, for example, one of the most important is desserts. So we all love desserts. So what are they doing with desserts? And then you can see like they have ice creams and other stuff. So these are the posts that are generating the highest engagement for these destinations. And basically, we wanted to share this because you don't have to care about what the machine is doing, but you want to care about what you can do with the intelligence that the machine provides. And that's actually what we have here. So thank you. I think we're on time.